So let's go mobiles. I don't know how to buy a mobile.
What I did was I put together some thoughts on points on selling, points on buying. And what I can do is I can share them with Erin or whomever, and she can put them someplace that people can refer to when they're stuck.
Awesome.
Because there's a number of points that people don't realize that are associated with buying.
Yeah.
Or selling. So when you list a mini home, for example, what do you ask for? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need the park inspection report, because in order for them to put their home on the market, it has, if it's a Havel Park, well, they all inspect them. They inspect them to make sure that they meet the requirements of the park. So for example, I've got one that they had 2 sheds. Well, one shed's got to go. They only allow 1 shed. So my folks have to arrange to have that shed removed. If the siding is not correct, or the skirting is not correct, or there's garbage around, or whatever it is, it's the exterior, the park will do a report and give it to the seller, and then they will go back and inspect it once it's done. So a lot of agents don't realize.
First step.
Pardon?
That's the step 1.
That's step 1.
And that's what, if anybody's just, how long's the process for that?
It's a Havel Park. She only inspects on Thursdays. That noise, you hear that noise?
Yeah, it's your nagging cat.
He's down the hall.
You're being yelled at.
He's got some voice on him, that boy. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so it's a matter of, you have the conversation with them, you're going to list it not immediately. So they have to get on that right away. And a lot of the sellers know they need this report, but they don't always get it in time. So as long as you get it before you get an offer, you should be all right. You need the park contact numbers, period, because you're going to have to pass that over to the buyer's agent. Park lease, most people don't realize that the lease numbers will change. Like, for example, if it's a Havel Park, if they're paying $310, the next person's going to be paying $315. And there's an anniversary every year that they can put up the park rent by $5 or whatever. The water system, if it's a Havel Park, the seller has to put in the water meter at their expense. Has to be inspected by the park, has to be put in by a certified plumber that the park has on their list. And wait,
is this for a new mobile being installed?
No.
I don't understand why there needs to be another meter.
They're converting it over because it was always paid for by the park. It was included in your park rent.
Oh.
And it no longer is.
Oh, I did not know that.
Well, that's.
Is that all the parks?
Huh?
Is that all the parks?
Havel. All Havel Parks.
Okay.
And Havel owns everything except Manor and Timber Trails. I think there's one more. There's a couple in Greenwich, and the other one, Bonnie Bray, I think it is, in, my brain just stopped, in Eastern Passage. So, but Havel owns the majority of them.
Okay, and so they stopped including.
Hello, Janice.
Nice this morning, Janice.
we were feeling. You're muted. You're muted. We can't hear you.
Charade. I haven't got my lipstick on yet.
I can guess that.
Yeah, you're going to guess this part, right?
So the water meter is an extra expense for your buyer and your seller. And a lot of people don't realize that, because the buyer has to buy the water meter reader, and you can only buy it from Havel, and it's $290. I think the last one was $315. So they set the price on that. And it has to be installed prior to them moving in, and it has to be inspected by the park. And she only inspects on Thursdays.
Wow.
I know, pain in the ass. Pain in the royal. Yeah.
So that has to be done by closing day?
She usually works out a good deal that, for example, if the plumber's not available, she'll allow you to install it the day of or the day after, but it has to be done almost immediately. Yeah. She's very crazy about that stuff.
So, but I would never allow a buyer to invest in anything unless it's closed.
Well, you'd only do it after it was firm anyway.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Gotcha.
Because remember, your buyer has to be approved by the park anyway. So once they go over there for their meeting, that's when they'll buy the meter reader and then make arrangements to have it put in. Isn't that lovely?
I didn't even know that. What, they do an interview process?
Oh, yes. Oh, are you ready for this one? I'll skip over to that one. If you're
Okay.
buying, you have to have a credit rating of over 600. You have to have a police report that you pay for. You can do it online to get your credit,
Yeah.
your criminal report. The park doesn't pay for that. You have to pay for it. You, the buyer. Isn't that lovely?
That's just like when you go to volunteer for anything. And look, I'm trying to do it so that you don't see my chin.
You know what? You know how sometimes you're doing a deal, say they're buying a $120,000 trailer, mini home,
Yeah.
and there's a little tweak when it comes to financing. So mom says, oh, I'll sign on for you. Well, guess what? Mom has to be interviewed. Mom has to have her criminal. Mom has, oh yeah, the whole 9 yards.
Wow.
Yep, even if she's not going to live there. If she's going to live there, she has to. But even if she's not going to live there and she's only a co-signer, that's what they require.
That sounds a little Big Brother, isn't it?
Think.
Are they in your business all the time?
Havel is always in your business. She inspects, she goes around every park on Thursday. I had one that we had everything done. We were almost ready to go. I had the seller, and Havel sent her a note that the shed was 3 inches too wide.
No
And
way.
she wanted my seller to take down that wall and fix it. Didn't happen because I had quite a seller and she didn't do it, but it was a fight you wouldn't believe. You can't have, the decks have to be a certain size. You can't have a shed that's not her specs. It's incredible.
Wow, that sounds like quite the power trip.
And it is. And Heather Scott is her name. She's not a nice person. So you go to Timber Trails, that's not owned by Havel, and they're all nice and neat and tidy in big sheds and big decks and so on, but it's as clean as a whistle there. They're paying less rent. They include the water, but you go to Havel and you look at some of their parks, they're disgusting. So whatever she's doing, screaming and hollering at people, it's not working.
No, it never does.
Yeah. No, of course not. Catch more flies with honey than you do vinegar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dennis, you're on mute again.
Yes, I am. My son is ready to make a smoothie.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
It couldn't be any
I'm
noisier
saving you.
than the cat screaming.
I know when that magic bullet gets going.
That little bugger, he starts at 5:30 in the morning.
Oh my
Oh my
God.
Yeah.
goodness, Phyllis, that's early.
Well, he tries to get into a room downstairs he's not allowed in. And the reason he's not allowed in is because there's some pump down there and I don't trust him, right?
Yeah.
So David put an extra board on the bottom of the doors, nailed it to the bottom of the door so he couldn't get in there. Little bugger pulled it off. Oh no, he thinks he's a dog. He doesn't know he's a cat.
Mm.
They're sitting there, oh, the end
The
of my
dog, but he still has the attitude of a cat.
Yeah.
You got an attitude.
Yeah.
So the other thing, just a reminder that when you're selling and when you're buying, there is no location certificate. So when you're making out the form, you have to cross those things off and get them initialed. There's no location certificate, and there's no restricted covenants to be provided by the buyer because they're provided by the park.
Okay.
And I always make that clarification in a counter offer, even if we're accepting the deal. I put it in a counter that this is the way it is.
Right.
Say that again, like,
Sorry?
say that again, like,
Okay. There's no restricted covenants being provided by the seller. Sorry, you're right.
okay,
Yeah, the buyer will get them from the park when they have their interview. So
Okay.
on the form itself, it does say provide for the seller to provide it to the buyer. I always correct that.
okay.
Yeah, I tried to get Tony, because I helped him write that form, and I tried to get Tony Robinson to understand that, and he just didn't happen. So the other thing is the migration part. You just cross that out because the property's not migrated, it's not on its own land.
Right.
So there's no migration involved. So trying to get people to understand that as well.
Oh,
You have a question on your face, Tina, I can see that.
that's what I mean, these are a lot.
Yeah, I know.
There should be like a mini course on this. This is,
Well, I typed this all up and I'm going to make it available and you guys can read it.
that's awesome.
I've got a couple of pages of.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really,
that's
really awesome.
fine.
And
Those 2 pages are buying.
that's really valuable,
It is, yeah.
you know?
It is. And I mean, people can call me at any time and ask me questions, you know, so.
Yeah.
The problem with not knowing all of this information is it really stalls the deals, or we're setting our buyers up for, like, you know, reopening offers that have already gone firm because the brokerage comes back and says, oh no, you need to amend this or you need to amend that,
Yeah.
whether it's our side or the other side, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but if we have the buyer and we know these things, I actually have as number 11 here, the little tiny writing, what I did put in one of my deals that I had, because I had the seller, and I did put it in that the restricted covenants are actually park rules, will be provided by the park, not the buyer, not the seller. There's no location certificate, and explained why. And the buyer will meet with park management regarding the restricted covenants. The chattels, the note one, this one there was no dishwasher, so. The property is not migrated and will not be migrated as it is located in the park. Land registration does not apply. The mini home schedule. What else do we got here? Oh yeah, the current lot rent is $330, but that may change for the new buyer because buyers don't realize that the park can put it up to whatever they need to or want to when it changes hands. Park management.
Is that,
Sorry.
sorry, fellas, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
No.
so you're saying that, okay, so it's a new buyer, so Havel or whoever can increase the rent, but is that something that's disclosed, like the amount is disclosed before closing, or is that
Usually.
just surprise?
Usually, yeah, but it's not disclosed on the listing because usually the seller doesn't understand what the park is, or doesn't know what the park is going to do or what they have planned, right? In terms of.
So when they go to do the park inspection, should that not be disclosed then?
No, sometimes it is, but not always. Because say, for example, you've got somebody that moved into, they've only been there for maybe a year. They haven't had an anniversary yet, or they've only been there 2 years and they're ready to sell. The park may leave the rent the same way. If that person has been there, say, like Kathy Marriott, you know, Kathy Marriott, she works for Royal LePage. She's been there for 30 years. She's only paying peanuts for her lot rent because she's grandfathered. If she sells her place, it's going to be a brand new dollar amount. So that's why the park maintains that they can change when they have a new tenant. Because they're tenants, remember, and this is tenancy, that the tenancy board that covers this.
Mhm.
renting.
Oh,
Okay.
so but don't they have to, at what point do they disclose the new lot rent? Because that could like,
I think it's up to the seller to advise the other agent, be aware that this number could change.
but not by much,
Usually $5. It's not very
Oh,
much.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. In
unless you're there
Kathy's
30
case,
years.
It's going to be a whole lot more.
Right.
Kathy's only paying, I think she's only paying $180 a month. But she's been there forever, and now it's $340. So that would be quite an increase if it was her property.
Wow, that
right?
would be.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, because there are certain people in the parks, that's not common knowledge, who are either, excuse me, my phone's ringing. I'll call you right back. That was Elaine Trask. So there are people who are paying senior prices, if you will, because they're between the ages of, say, 60 and above, all right? So they pay a lower rent than you or I would pay a lower rent, but that you would pay, for example. So your rent might be $340, but because I'm a senior, mine might be $260. So when I sell my place, it's going up to $340 for the buyer.
Right.
Okay. Clear as
Gotcha.
mud, right? There's a lot to it that people just don't realize.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it. And it's the itty bitty paperwork. The other thing too is that buyers think that they can buy a mini home and not use a lawyer. You have to use a lawyer.
Why would you do that?
Use a lawyer? Because
No, no, why would you not use a lawyer?
I think it's because it's sold as a chattel for the bank. It's not a mortgage. So they figure they don't have to register it as a mortgage. But you do, because it's called a PPHA, I think it is. And it's a form that they fill out that registers the property so that fraud cannot occur later on. So somebody can't get on property online or somewhere and find this property and get a mortgage against it. So, because if you go to property online, you can't get the taxes and you can't get the assessment for a mini home. The lawyer can. So I have a friend, one of my clients works for a lawyer. So when I want to know the make, the model, the year, the serial number, I go to them for that and they give it to me. But the make, model, and the year and the serial number should be at on a piece of paper that's either behind one of the cupboard doors when you open a cupboard door, or it's under the sink in the corner because that's where the parks put them, or it's in the breaker on the door of the breaker.
Oh, okay.
And I always take a picture of that and do it that way. Yeah.
Okay. So everything that is on property line is on that piece of paper that's stuck to something inside of the trailer.
Yeah, there's usually a decal on the front of the property, somewhere on the property. That
Okay.
says maple leaf and the year and the CSA number and all that stuff.
Okay.
But the actual should either be where the meter is or the electrical box is or under the sink, but the lawyer can confirm it because we can't get in that deep, they can.
Okay.
That helps. Are you clear as mud now?
Well, it's so funny because you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
That's,
So I'm going to send these to Aaron, or do you want it, Janice? I can send it to you guys.
yes.
Yeah, if you want to send it to us and then you can send it to Erin and she
Yeah.
can post it with, because that's,
You know.
it's
Yeah.
great information, Phils. And I think it's a great checklist to have in front of us
Yep.
for whether we're listing or we're on the buying side, like to be able to say, okay, we need all these things. These are the questions I need to ask to be able to protect our buyers and sellers.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
and yourself, because you don't want to open the door and have
Right.
somebody say, holy crap, you didn't tell me that and I want you to pay for it. No.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd end up buying somebody a trailer. I know it.
Yeah.
What
I
happens?
hear ya.
What happens?
Yeah. Yeah.
What happens if it's on its own land?
Sorry, I can only hear a cat. Try that again.
What happens if the mobile is on its own land. Is that,
It's different. You do have the location certificate. You do have it migrated. You do have a PID because you don't have a PID with these. You only have the serial number.
okay, gotcha. So mobile on its own land is like a house.
It's like a house, but it's not on a foundation, and there is different requirements as far as the bank is concerned for financing.
So
If
is there
it's
anything
on-
that we need to do in order for that to happen?
You need to understand that if it's only on blocks, that the buyer needs to talk to their bank about that.
Okay,
Yeah, because if it's on a foundation, that's fine, because then they can do a regular mortgage. It's still
Right.
going to be a chattel mortgage on land. but
right.
It's a different way of doing it. I find that it's funny, buyers will come to me and they'll say, oh no, I've been talking to TD and I'm all pre-approved and Royal Bank. Yeah, they dance you through all this stuff. As time goes on, you get, oh, by the way, I need this. Oh, by the way, the bank needs this. At the end of the day, 80% of times they say no, because they don't want to have mini homes on their books. So I refer them immediately to the credit union. And the
Credit union are a lot more user friendly.
they do all the mini homes that I've done. And I've
Oh,
done-
really? Huh.
So I have heard that RBC was easier to process
Yeah.
with mobiles.
Yeah.
No? No.
It starts out fine,
Mm.
but then it gets tricky. If it's an
Okay.
old one, say it's 25 years old and it's been renovated. Then they start with I need all the receipts, I need when it was done, and has this been upgraded, has that been upgraded? It's just the way they do it. They prefer not to have it on there.
I see. They'll say, oh yeah, great, wonderful, but here's all the loopholes, you have to, like make it
And they
painful.
end up wasting a lot of time.
Yeah, or they want a cosigner. And that's when you run into
Right.
the problem with the park, with the cosigner.
Right.
Right.
Blows up, and you don't want that.
Why don't I just refer this client over to somebody else?
Now you know why they call me the Tin Lizzie, because I get them all.
Ah,
I don't care. Like, you do more work on a mini home than you do on a $500,000 home. No question.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
So
Yeah, it's like volunteering to help somebody into a home.
Yeah.
this is your
I've only-
charity work for the week.
I've only ever done a couple of them, but they've been a lot of work and like a lot more work. And in some ways, it's some of the paperwork and some of the information you have to get, but it's also some emotional work with the buyer,
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
right? With the buyer, kind of helping them navigate through some of it, making sure that they understand everything, that they have everything.
Yeah, and a lot of times, because it's fewer dollars, they feel less and they feel embarrassed, or they feel, oh, I wish I could buy something else, but this is all I can do. And it's our job to make them feel good about what they're doing.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
They're buying a castle. It's their castle.
To me, it doesn't matter how much somebody's spending on a home. It's their home. It's their
Exactly.
new home. It's going to be their place where they live and they create memories.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. And
Yeah.
And as long as you navigate through all these little odds and sods that you have to navigate through on their behalf, they will enjoy their home.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree.
So I'll
Alrighty.
send these over to you guys.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, that's been very good. Thank you very much. Like,
Yes, this was
I love
great,
it.
Phyllis. This was really,
Yeah.
really good. And I love being able to have a checklist.
Yeah.
Because that's crucial. I think it's crucial to be able to do this well.
Yeah, I'll add the part about if it's on its own land, because I don't have that on here. So I'll add that on and send it over to you a little later, because
Okay.
we have an 11
Sure.
o'clock, 11:30.
yeah, awesome. Thank you so much.
We closing